Okay, so I think I'm going to start now. Before we get started, I just want to say on behalf, my name is Rosalie Sarasua, and I am the Volunteer and Community Engagement Specialist for East of Canada. And on behalf of JDRS and Diabetes Hope Foundation, we'd like to welcome you to the last webinar of our Let's Talk T1D Educational Series and Back to School. And today our speaker will be Alexx Colley from Diabetes Hope Foundation, and our topic, as you see from the screen, is Transition 101. So Alexx is a program director for Diabetes Hope Foundation. She went to Brock University, where she graduated with her Bachelor of Arts degree in Business Communications. Although Alexx does not have T1D, she has been involved with the diabetes community for over 10 years. Alexx has been involved with DHF, Diabetes Hope Foundation, for many years, volunteering, and joined DHF as a full-time staff member in 2018, where she manages DHF's community programs across Ontario and beyond. In her spare time, Alexx volunteers with her local agricultural society, as well as the local Rotaract Highlanders Club, and serves as director in both communities. We will also have Luc Langteng and Rav Samra with us to answer questions and to pitch in, also from Diabetes Hope Foundation. So a few housekeeping and technical items. We will be recording this session because we will be putting it on our YouTube page for those who have missed it and those who would like to get more information. We have everyone on mute. This is just to minimize the background noise. However, at the end of the presentation, we'll be able to take everybody off mute to ask questions live. You are welcome at the end of the presentation to go on camera by pressing the camera button and the microphone in order to ask your questions live. However, we also have a chat function. So please feel free to write in the chat box, which is a little chat icon there that you can see if you hover over the presentation. You'll be able to see all of the icons and the control bar. So you can use the chat and type in your message there. We have already put a few little things in the chat, some of our links and a little bit about what we will be talking about tonight. So please write any questions there as you think of them, and we'll be happy to answer in the chat. Si vous avez des questions en français, n'hésitez pas à écrire les questions en français ou posez votre question en français et je vais traduire pour les conférenciers. And at the end of the presentation, like I said, we'll answer questions, and there also is a raise hand button that you can use. Also, just a little thing, we will not be discussing COVID-19 in a general way or in a fulsome way, because we cannot make recommendations whether or not your family should be going back to school, whether or not yourself should be going away to university or not. This is a family decision. This is a personal decision. But I have put some references and our blog post about this that we have created with Diabetes Canada and with Diabetes at School. So you can take a look at that to help you make any decisions decisions in regards to COVID. We do not have doctors talking today. This is a transition webinar, so that's what we will be talking about today. And so I would like to introduce Alexx, and take it away. Alexx, you can just unmute yourself and we're good to go. Thank you.
Awesome. And thank you so much, Rosalie, for the introduction. So I will start the PowerPoint. So I am Alexx Colley, the program director. And as Rosalie mentioned, I've been with the foundation since 2018. It's been very exciting. So again, Rosalie, thank you for having DHF be a part of this learning experience for all of the viewers to share a little bit about what we do and our transition things, I guess. So as Rosalie mentioned, we do have two alumni joining us tonight. We have Luc and Rav. They are both DHF alumni, meaning that they received DHF scholarships back in, oh goodness, when did they receive? Luc 2014 and Rav, I believe it was 2013. Rav, correct me if I am wrong.
You got that right.
Perfect. So, ladies and gentlemen, Ralph, thank you. And Luke, I'm not sure, are you here? Not sure if Luke's on tonight. He's studying for a really big exam, one of his doctorates. So he is very, very busy. So maybe he'll join us later tonight. But let's get started. All right, so has anybody heard of Diabetes Hope Foundation before? Obviously, Rav and I both know what Diabetes Hope Foundation is, as we've been a part of the foundation for a long, long time. But just to give a brief overview of the foundation, we kind of like to know who has heard of Diabetes Hope Foundation before, so I can maybe skip through some of those parts or maybe answer a little bit more in detail to your questions. So if you want to put that in the chat, that would be awesome. Rosalie, any answers? Yep.
We have a few no's, a few yeses.
Oh, so a little bit of mixed. Okay, we have some newbies here. I like that. All right. Okay, so I'm going to jump to another question. And since we're going to be talking about transition, what stage of transition are you in? So it will be a short answer. So are you transitioning to adult care? Are you transitioning into post-secondary, out of post-secondary? You're still in high school? Where are you? I myself graduated in university a few years ago now, and in the working world, but my transition from post-secondary from high school to post-secondary was very smooth. I know it's going to be a little bit bumpy, let's per se right now, but we're going to focus on what it would be like if you were just having a normal transition. So Rav, Rosalie, what are our answers?
Yeah. So we have one, Jacqueline posted her daughter's almost 17. Another into university, into post-secondary and adult care, last year of high school, going into post-secondary, one more year of high school, university for the daughter. So people are right in the mix of it, or just before.
Awesome. Well, we like to hear that. We like the mix. So I will go through a brief introduction of what Diabetes Hope Foundation is all about, what we do, what we specialize in, and the programs we have to offer. So about Diabetes Hope Foundation, for those of you who are watching and you might not know much about the foundation, is that DHF was started in 1999 after Barbara Pasternak, the founder and chair. She found out that 2 of her 3 sons were diagnosed with type 1 at a very young age. So with that, she wanted to provide hope and guidance to those in the type 1 community. So with that being said, she started a scholarship program in 1999 to award youth of their accomplishments. And it's been absolutely amazing. I'm proud to say that I have been able to take part in the scholarship program for many years as a volunteer. And I know Rav can attest to this, as she has won a scholarship recipient. But since 1999, get this, we have awarded 769 scholarships to youth living with type 1 across Canada. And you'll see some of those stats in a minute, but that's just an overview. But we also have peer support programs, we have mentorship programs, as well as our transition program, which is why we are here today. So you guys are part of the transition program tonight. So again, thank you for being here. All right, so as I mentioned, our scholarships awarded to date, 769. So you will notice that there are some provinces missing, but that is not because of us, that is because of our donors. The donors that donate to the scholarship program choose the province that they want to donate to, hence why some are a little bit more than others. But we are still pushing to be Canada-wide, so from coast to coast and everywhere in between. So that leads me to my next point. If you or your daughter, your son are transitioning into post-secondary, they're in their final year of high school, please apply to the Diabetes Hope Foundation Scholarship. The scholarship will be opening, I think, in October. We're still kind of working out the final details right now. It's an online application. It's a little lengthy, but it's a very rewarding experience. So be sure to take part, and I can send Rosalie the link, and she can send it out to you guys if you are interested in applying.
I have a quick question while we're right here. This is Rosalie again. If one of the provinces is not put here, should people still apply? Because we don't know what's going to happen in the years, or are there only certain provinces that can apply?
That's a great question, Rosalie. Thank you. So with that, we don't get commitment typically from our sponsors until January. So when our scholarship is open, we do open it up. So there is a Ontario I guess, guidelines, and then there's a national, which is everything outside of Ontario. So reach out to your clinic because your clinic has all the information about this scholarship, typically. If there are any questions, please reach out to info@diabeteshopefoundation.com for more information if you are unsure about if your province is covered or not. So that would be the best answer that I can give. We typically don't know, so just reach out to us.
Just because we have do we have scholarships in Quebec, we have a few people from Quebec on the call today.
Yes, and we're hoping to. We're getting close, so keep an eye out. I can't promise anything, just if you're unsure, like I said, email info@diabeteshopefoundation.com and we will give you the best answer. Hopefully good news, but again, I can't promise anything.
So just to finish that, then we will send a follow-up email and we will have these links for everybody after the tomorrow's Friday. So we will send links out tomorrow with follow-up emails so people can get more information.
Great. Thank you, Rosalie. All right, so our transition programs. So Diabetes Hope Foundation has been doing transition programs since 2014, so for quite a few years. So what does that entail? Okay, so before I jump into our transition programs, and I guess we already answered this question, so disregard this one. Okay, so I know we're not talking a lot about COVID, but we still want to kind of get an understanding of where everybody is so we can maybe help formulate better transition plan, I guess. So do you plan on going back to school in the fall? So are you studying from home? Are you learning from home? Are you going back to on campus? You've decided to take a gap year. I know that's pretty popular. So where's everybody at with that? Because I know some people are different than others, and that's totally okay. It's what you feel comfortable doing. So I'll give a few seconds for you to put in your comments in the chat.
So our first comments, going back to school to grade 12, another studying from home, another back on campus. So far those are the learning from home, some people.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who are doing really what's best for them, and that's what everybody needs to keep in mind. So everything that we say, please just take this as an experience, and that we're not guiding you to do anything. It's just from Rob's experiences and from our own learning experiences as well. All right. Okay, so this is some of the resources that Diabetes Hope Foundation has taken from other places and other resources. So when you are going back to school, especially college, university, consider all forms of accommodations. And we are going to talk more about the accommodations to help you have a smoother transition to post-secondary. But just keep in mind with academic, residential, and dining accommodations. Know your plans, know your school's plan for returning back to campus. So is it virtual? Is it online? On campus? Or is it a mix of both? So just kind of understand the plan that your school has, and that will really help your plan formulate. Create a communication plan as well. So whether it's with your family, your RAs, your professors, telling your professors that you have diabetes or any other chronic illness is so important. I cannot stress this enough. I myself do have a chronic illness. I suffer from severe migraines. It is very, very terrible. So anybody out there who has migraines, we're in this together and it really sucks. So make sure, regardless though, your professors know they are the most accommodating people. I can't even tell you. Now, Rav, did you have experience with that, talking to your professors about your diabetes?
Yeah, so I'm a huge advocate for just letting them know, because, you know, if there is a time where you feel low, I'm gonna need to pop out, or I don't know, when I get low, I get like really hot and sweaty and I just need to step out into like a cooler place, like a hallway. Just so when I slip out, like I'll give them a thumbs up just so they know that it's not like a dire medical emergency. And it's a good way to kind of get to know your profs too and kind of break the ice between you and them, because, you know, they can be kind of scary being like your professor. But I do really encourage you to talk to your professors about having diabetes, like Alex said.
Yeah, thank you, Rob. And also your campus health center and your friends and roommates. So just making sure that they all know kind of what's going on. So if something happens, like you need to leave suddenly, they're not super concerned. They just know what's going on. As well, make sure that I can't stress this enough either, is that your mental health matters so much. It's a very stressful time. A lot of people don't know what's happening. Heck, I don't even know what's happening. So make sure that you know the supports that are available to you, and we will talk about those when we get into our transition guide. So do we have any other questions or any questions about this so far? This is just a brief kind of overview. We wanted to add some COVID stuff because we know that it's everywhere. So any questions, Rav?
Don't see any so far.
Perfect. All right. All right. So our transition guide. How many of you know?
There is one question.
Sure, Rosalie, go
There
ahead.
is one question that just popped out. Is about how about what Joanne wrote about initiations. What she means is like hazing, like at the beginning of the year when they're starting to do these type of fun activities to get everybody going, drinking or et cetera, et cetera. How do people handle these type of things?
Great question. So I'm not going to answer that yet. We will cover that later on. So I have noted your question, but we will cover that closer to the end. Perfect. And then the transition guide. Have we any responses about people knowing what our transition guide is?
2 no's, 1 yes.
Good.
Another no.
Good. I love sharing. Okay. Great. Okay. I love sharing what our transition resource or our transition guide is. All right. So back in 2014, when our transition programs really started, is when Diabetes Hope Foundation put out the Guide for Successful Transition to College and University. And yes, this is available in French, which is fantastic. So we are working on the 2020 and 2021 version right now and just getting all those final edits in. So that should be up on our website beginning of September. So keep an eye out for that. But what this guide entails is it is about 300 pages of information about transitioning to college and university. As you can see by the little snippets here, it has a plethora of information. We have surveys from our alumni that we've done. We have insurance information for every single province across Canada. We have the resources and accessibility services that are available to you as students. So speaking of benefits benefits of being a student with diabetes when you are on campus, college, university, these are the services that are available to you. So when I say accommodations, you do have to register your accommodations with the Accessibility Student Services. Now there's a ton of different names. There's Student Success, there's so many, and you will see those outlined in the guide. Like I said, the guide is available on our website for a free download. And this is in, I believe, section 2. So it breaks down the services. I can stress so much that this was so important to me when I had it. I got to write in separate writing rooms. I didn't have to get penalized for breaks during my tests and exams. I actually got additional time. And when you're writing university and college exams, you're writing in a room with 300, 400, 500 other people. It's very, very stressful. So being able to write in your own room brings the stress down. Now, Rav, what accommodations did you have when you were in university?
So the big one for me was guaranteed on-campus housing and having like a private room. So I had my own room within an apartment. It was amazing. I only had 3 other roommates in an entire apartment. We had 2 bathrooms. I was guaranteed to bring a fridge in. So that really gave me peace of mind because I originally went to the University of Ottawa, which is 5 hours away. And that was very scary for my parents and my older sisters to just like, let me be free. And, you know, their younger T1D daughter and sister is going to figure this out. And that was scary for them. So knowing that I had like my own space and my own privacy and I wouldn't be, you know, potentially sharing with roommates who wouldn't get it was like a huge sigh of relief for them and for myself.
Awesome. So one thing the guide does very well is that say you wanted to go to Ryerson University. You look up Ryerson University. It has its own page with the closest endocrinologist, the closest clinic, obviously the address of the school. It has how to apply for accessibility services, which is very, very important. What documentations you need, if you need a doctor's note, if you need to sign a specific form that the school has, who to get in contact, how to send it. So that's really interesting for the accommodation side. Now on another side, and more of a technical side, it also shares the insurance copay that universities have. So if your parents don't have insurance and you need insurance for the university or college, you can actually decide based on that. So it has copay of say 20%. So you have to pay 20%. Your school covers 80%. When the blackout period is, how much you're covered for, if your diabetes supplies are covered for. So we cover all of it. Rab, did you use this information when you went to school?
Yeah, so when I first went to university, that was 2013. So the guide looked a little bit different. But what was such a huge help was knowing where the closest endo clinic was, because when I moved from Burlington to Ottawa, I didn't set up a clinic up there. I did all my adult care back in Burlington and just, kept up virtually or whenever when I was home. So I had a few scary incidents happen with my insulin pump. I had DKA, had to go to the hospital. And so I kind of realized, I need to go see a clinic and just get care if I need it right away. And so when I looked back at the guide, I saw which hospital, which clinic it was, and I was able to arrange that communication. So that literally was a lifesaver for me.
Amazing. So good to hear. And yes, and we do update the guide if there's different clinics that open. So do we have any questions about the benefits, how to apply, what to look for, anything like that?
I have a little interjection. It's Rosalie again.
Sure.
When I went through the guide, because you haven't had many people from Quebec in there, I found some of the things were a little out of date from 2018.
Yes.
Now, I don't know, it's hard to do this all. I still would recommend that everybody, the guide is invaluable. I loved it. I downloaded it because if anybody needed it, who asked us at JDRF. But you still have to do your research in your own university to see what is there, because it's hard for everything to be there all the time at your fingertips, because this is a volunteer organization also. So everything needs to, so I just want to say that it's very important to also do your own due diligence yourself when you choose your school.
Yes, that is very correct, Rosalie. Thank you. We do try to update the guide as best as we can. And we did know that there were actually a lot of changes in Quebec specifically for the guide this coming year. So, but if there are any revisions that need to be made and you do note them, please send them our way so we can make sure that we're as up to date as possible.
Great. I'm happy to do for my city of Montreal.
Thank you, Rosalie. And that goes to anybody else out there watching. Okay. So I'm going to move on to our next program. So this is our peer support program. Our peer support program launched in, okay, I'm just going to talk about this one. So our peer support program launched in 2018, I believe, after we received a grant from the government, so the Ontario Trillium Foundation, to complete a feasibility study for youth with type 1 with mental health. And what we did is we had trained and certified mentors. So actually Rav is one of our mentors in the program. They were all trained in mental health first aid, compassion fatigue, emotional intelligence, leadership training, a de-escalation clause, as well as safe talk training. So all of our mentors were trained to help these mentees, ages 13 to 17, 18 years old. They were able to fill the gap when the mentee was waiting to access some kind of other healthcare professional. So whether they were trying to see a psychologist, psychiatrist, whatever it was, DHF was that stopgap to help the mentee get through their day-to-day. Now, by no means were our mentors trained to provide the psychology and the psychiatry of a professional. They were just there to help them get through their day-to-day. They were able to reframe conversations from negative to positive. Through the program, we matched 50 mentors and mentees across Ontario, and I can say without a doubt that the program was such a huge success. All of our mentors and mentees, all of our mentees, their quality of life did increase with the help of a trained mentor and being able to reframe the conversation from a negative to a positive. So I have to give a huge kudos to Rav and the rest of the peer support team for taking part in this program and creating the success that it was. So this one's 13 to 17. Now I'm going to move on to the one that really applies to everybody here. So our mentorship program. So our mentorship program started in 2011, where we really only stuck within the foundation. So we matched new scholarship recipients to old scholarship recipients. So one thing that we did last year is Barbara and I opened the mentorship program up to anybody. So anybody could apply for a mentor. Our mentors are all, again, they're part of the DHF family and they all live with type 1. They have that lived experience and they've all made the transition successfully. So it's a really good program. So not jumping to Hope Connects on campus yet, but I will get there. The Hope Connects mentorship program, we have actually matched Rav, I think the number is over 400 now, over 400.
Yes.
And, yeah,
42?
I think we were looking at that today.
Yeah. Yeah, 442.
Perfect. So that's how many matches we have made since 2011, how many pairs we have connected. This program has been all the way from BC to Newfoundland. It has been absolutely incredible. So if you, your son or daughter wants to have a mentor while they transition to college and university, since Rav and I will be working together on this, we match based on college and university and by program. So really doing a lot of research into what the mentee wants, because it's really about them and their supports. So that brings me to the Hope Connects on Campus program. So this program is new. Barbara and I started this, I guess, just last year. Oh my goodness, where we go directly to the college and universities. Since many colleges and universities have a diabetes club, we reached out to them and we were able to partner with 4 out of the 7 in Ontario, maybe 5, I can't remember. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sure. It's been such a crazy program, and everything's happening so fast and transitioning to virtual. So you have to bear with me on this one because everything's changing. But with that, we went to McMaster. We did go to Ryerson last year, and we were supposed to go to Western and University of Ottawa to do these programs, but unfortunately COVID hit, so that kind of put a damper on the program. But regardless, we had over 50 people at each seminar, and we had guest speakers, we had mentors, and everybody was coming out to talk about transition and life on campus. And we'll get there with the kind of drinking and all that kind of stuff as we move farther. But we did one at Ryerson, like I said, and it was absolutely fantastic. We are working with Ryerson again this year. But if you are aware of a diabetes club on your campus, let us know. We will be more than willing to provide you with the materials to have a successful learning seminar and just bring more awareness about diabetes to your club. Okay, what else do I have here? All right, and this is another really cool thing that we did last year. So Barbara's son Bobby, again, one of the ones who was diagnosed with type 1, wrote a book at the age of 10 when he was first diagnosed. Barbara found this book in the bottom of her drawer one day as we were cleaning out her desk, covered in hockey tape and foolscap. It had really old pictures of Brad Pitt in it. It was hilarious. It was super cute. We decided to turn the book into a published book, Nothing Can Stop Me. So it's about a little boy in his hockey and him not thinking he might not be able to play again because he was just diagnosed with diabetes, but he's able to play and he's able to get back on the ice and be better than ever and win the championship. So it's a great little book. If you're interested in learning more about it, visit nothingcanstopme.ca, and you'll be able to see it there if you wanted to order a copy. All right, let's get into the fun stuff now. Okay, poll question. So how has everybody found the transition from ped care to adult care? How has the transition been? So we'll kind of do a double question. So Rav, how was your transition from pediatric care to adult care?
I was really, really spoiled in the sense that the RN that I was with, my diabetes educator who's known me since I was 9, is the same diabetes educator at my adult clinic. So it's been really, really great to have someone who's literally seen me grow up, who has such like a good relationship with me. I feel like I can talk to her about anything, whether it's like personal or related to my diabetes. She just gets me. And even my doctor now, he's still, very nice, very kind, and very helpful. I know some people don't always have the easiest transition from pediatric to adult care. Guess I'm just one of the lucky ones.
That's so good to hear. So one of the things that we do is with the transition program, we do take this PowerPoint to other clinics to introduce the younger kids to the adult team, and we talk about transition. So what are some of the answers that have been coming in?
1 more year before that happens. Kathy wrote that they just had the last appointment with the ped endocrinologist on Wednesday. Those are the 2 comments so far. Great. I'm wondering if I'm curious about this myself, if anybody's experience has been different, whether or not the transition is in the same building or the same place. Because sometimes, like in big hospital centers, they've been amalgamated and you have the child's clinic very close to the adult clinic. I don't know if anybody's had, if that makes for a smoother transition, or if it doesn't matter at all, or it just really depends where you are. So people have wrote too, with COVID, the adult diabetes care is only on the phone. So if somebody transitioned now during COVID, their experience would be wildly different. And other people have said they haven't transitioned yet. They're still under 18.
Yeah, and that's one thing that we have noticed is that the transition from pediatric care to adult care right now has been a little different, especially with everything being virtual. Now, one thing before COVID, I went to the clinic in Barrie, actually, and because they have a few different adult clinics in Barrie, all the clinics came out, and it's a decision that you and your child have to make. Well, I guess your child and or yourself needs to make. So it was really interesting. So if there's a chance to go to a transition program that's running at your clinic for pediatric to adult care, I highly recommend going. It was very informative. The clinics talked about their differences over one another, what they have, what other ones don't have. I just found it really, really interesting. And the children get the choice. The youth get their own choice, which is really cool. Okay, so diabetes management during transition. So let me just pop up all these bubbles. Okay. Oops. Okay, Rav, I'm going to jump to you on this one. Mm-hmm. So during your diabetes management transition, what do you think is the most important thing that you found during your transition?
So for me, definitely ordering diabetes and pump supplies. I know, especially being like under 18, we tend to rely a lot on our parents to order prescriptions for us or order our pump supplies. So learning that skill was really, really important. I also was someone who hated talking on the phone. So it kind of helped me, jump over that barrier. When I moved to Ottawa, I planned out things well in advance. So I was able to bring all my stuff up with me. I usually saw my family like every 6 or 8 weeks. So if I did need something that I wasn't prepared for, they were willing to give it to me when I was home, or when they came to visit me, they would give it to me then. I would also, if you're moving far away, or if you're doing a co-op across the country like I did last summer, transferring your prescription early is huge. And being on top of that communication and being proactive will save you a lot of time and hassle. So go to your current pharmacy, tell them, hey, I need these prescriptions to be transferred over to this one over in BC, for example. Make sure you call up the BC pharmacy, make sure that, the labels on your prescriptions are the same. I know I ran into a bit of an issue last year where my Novo Rapid said use as directed, which was okay at my current pharmacy, but in BC they needed something more specific. Like I took this range of units a day, so I had to call my doctor. So again, just making sure that you're on top of that communication is really important.
Great points, Rob. I think that's really important with the transferring your prescriptions and making sure that labels are correct. Because if there's something that's funny going on and you need to call your doctor, making sure that you have enough time to do so before running out of supplies. So good point. Any questions about this specific slide for anybody that Rav could answer? And Luke, maybe if you're here, speak up. I don't think so.
Yeah. Again, finding the closest endo near your school is good. Even when I transferred to Ryerson, like I was commuting from Burlington, but if I did have some type of like health emergency, knowing where like the nearest health clinic was at the back of my head was just incredibly valuable information if something happened.
Great advice, Rav. Thanks. Okay, if there's no questions, move on to the next one. Okay, poll question. So how many of you are living on your own, or are you going to be living in with moving in with a roommate? Are you going to residence? Residence, I say lightly. So what's everybody's living situation, or your child?
So daughter's still living at home with parents still?
So to that question, will she be moving out with a roommate when she goes off to post-secondary? Or is she going to go off to post-secondary and live on her own? Is it close by home? I mean, for me, my school is 2 hours away, so I don't choice. Rob, I guess you had to move all the way to Ottawa, so you were way out there and then commuting back and forth.
Yeah. So someone pointed out all residence rooms are single because of COVID.
Yes. I loved having a single room in residence so much. Rob, you lived in residence in Ottawa, correct?
Yeah, and so that was an apartment. So I had a very spacious bedroom, and then I walked out and I had just like an apartment, which was fantastic. Yeah, I can't stress how much I loved having an apartment over just like the traditional dorm. I'm a bit of a princess though, so.
Most people here wrote that the students will be staying at home, and a couple residence rooms are single, of course, and another hope to move into residence when they open. So it just depends on that. And I think in Canada too, we're blessed for we have a lot of cities with a lot of great universities, and people can, if they live in a big center, can stay home if they want, if it's a choice that their family needs to make. So that's we're blessed with choices a lot of times.
Yes, that we are. And I know a lot of university towns. So for example, I went to Brock University. There were more student houses than there were students. So if you are still wanting to get that home away from home experience, look into the student housing in the area, because chances are that there is more than enough to have your own space. So just keep that in mind. I'm not 100% sure about every single town, but I know for Brock that in St. Catharines, that was the case. But regardless, living on your own, Rob, what do you find the most important on this one?
For me, it was definitely how to tell your roommates. So when I moved to Ottawa, I had 3 other roommates. One of them I had a bit of a language barrier with, so I didn't really have this conversation with them. But with the other 2, just being open and honest with them, saying, hey, like I have T1D. This is what it looks like when I'm low. This is what it looks like when I'm high. I'm very open and honest, so I'll probably tell you. In case of an emergency, this is how to use a glucagon. This is what my insulin does. This is what my insulin pump does. This is how it works. I'm very comfortable being open and honest. I kind of always have been. It's been a good lesson for me to become like an advocate for myself. Especially growing up in a South Asian family where, chronic illnesses and diabetes and all that fun stuff is a little bit more hush hush. So that was a good lesson for me. And my roommates were really, really kind and understanding about it. It was a good opportunity to give them a learning moment and for them to ask questions and, me teach them something different. Another big one was like making my own food. I am blessed with being both vegetarian and a picky eater. So eating in the dining hall was not always an option because I didn't always have something that I wanted to eat. And also making your own food is a good opportunity and a good lesson to how to budget your money properly. So you know how much to divvy up between meals and like stocking up on, food and snacks when you're low. And the third most important thing I would say is walking back and forth from your dorm to classes. Not only is that great to get in a bit of exercise and some steps, but just like put in some tunes, block out the world, have some me time. It's a really great break from all the chaos that can happen at university.
Oh, yes. And there can be some chaos for sure.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So Rob, I just want to reiterate the one point that you said is advocating for yourself. I think that's very important, especially with your roommates, being somewhere new, meeting new people, and just not being, Rob, what's the right phrase? Not being afraid to tell people about your type 1 diabetes because it's a part of you, but it doesn't define you. Exactly. Sorry, Rob, go ahead.
I was going to say that there might be some times where people say ignorant things to you or they're not as accepting about your diabetes. They might say, a lot of myths or misconceptions. And it's really up to you to kind of judge that moment to make it a learning opportunity or say, you know what? I don't want to deal with this negativity. I don't want to engage with that person. So again, it's a good lesson to learn for yourself to define your own boundaries and how you want to talk to other people about diabetes. Like some people are more comfortable being a little bit more quiet about it, which is okay as long as your close friends and roommates know. And some people are more like open and honest and tell everyone, which is also okay too.
Exactly. And as Ralph said, it's really up to you and how you disclose your diabetes and how you choose to address comments and questions. So it's all based on personal experience. But again, if you have those questions and you're not really sure, feel free to reach out to us to match you with a mentor because they know how to help you answer those questions for sure. So just keep that in mind. All right. Any questions about living on your own? Questions for Rav? No?
Nope, not yet.
All right. So I'm going to jump in. If we do get any more questions, we will. Okay, so how did you find eating at school? So Rav, how did you find eating at school? You guys don't have to answer this question.
I would say it was okay. Like, it was easier for me when I moved to Ryerson because I just like brought my food from home. But there was also a lot more variety if I wanted to eat out. If I had the money to spend on more healthy things, which are typically more expensive, I could do so. But at Ottawa, that was definitely like the work in progress, I'm learning phase.
Fair enough. So yeah, with nutrition and physical activity is very important. I even found that when I was at university, a lot of the time at the dining hall, there would be the menu options and they had the nutritional facts beside them. Not every time, but they did. So thank goodness we actually had our nutrition staff member for the dining hall. I can't remember what they're called. I want to say caterer, but I know that's not right. Dining hall staff manager. Oh my goodness. So I would always ask them for questions if I had any regarding my dietary restrictions. They were always very, very understanding and cooperative. So don't be afraid to reach out to them. They're the nicest people ever because it's food and everybody loves food. So Rav, any major points to address on this one?
Get a refresher course on carb counting. So I've been diagnosed with diabetes since I was 2. I consider myself like a subject matter expert on how it affects me. But even before I went to university, I was like, it would probably be good to get a refresher and just talk to my dietitian about some strategies on how to avoid, certain traps when it comes to food. When I stress, I either eat a lot or I don't eat at all, and I needed to find that kind of healthy middle ground. And it's still something I kind of struggle with. But I do emphasize going to see your dietitian or your clinic to get a refresher course on carb counting. And another great message on the slide is trial and error until you find balance. Be kind to yourself. University is a different type of stress that we're not used to in post-secondary, and it does take time to kind of adjust to a heavy course load and then lightening it and balancing a social life and work on top of that and finding time to do your studies. So it will take some time to kind of find what works for you, and just, be kind and patient to yourself as you try to find that balance. And also, with the point, when possible, try to make your own food. Food's expensive. It might not be, the easiest thing to do, but it's also a good opportunity to do a potluck with some people that you met at Frosh or with roommates. I know that might be a little bit more difficult now, but hopefully once things kind of settle down a bit, it's a possibility.
Well, I'm sure there's Zoom cooking classes that you could all do. I'm sure that would be interesting and a fun way to interact and try new things, I guess. So any questions on nutrition and physical activity? Now, I just want to jump to physical activity for a second, Rav. So you said in between classes, I think it was on the previous slide, that you would walk in between. What else did you find worked with exercise in between classes?
So I am someone who's a little bit intimidated by the gym. I still am. So I'm a big walker. I would walk to the movie theater. I would walk, to the train station, the bus stop. Like, I will walk half hour, 40 minutes if my schedule allows for that. Because again, walking is one of those things that's just such a good mental health, like, stress reliever for myself. But there were like a few times, I know at like beginning of the year, where they have like Frosh events or like beginning of school events where they have like yoga in the middle of campus, and you get dragged along with friends. And so it's a good way to kind of, kill half an hour. I know some schools have like spin classes that are only like 20 minutes between classes. So if that's something you're into, definitely take advantage of that.
Great. Yeah, there's a lot of classes that are available to you as students, which is a lot of fun. So be sure to check out your gym area. I know I keep talking about Brock, but that's the only university that I know of. So they just expanded our gym, which is called The Zone, which is pretty cool. So I'm excited to hear about that and the reopening. Okay. So question, I guess, Rav, what do you do when you go out drinking with friends? And I know this was a question previously, so we'll be able to address it here, kind of.
For sure.
Okay, go.
So one of my things is I'm always surrounded by at least 2 people who know I have diabetes and know what it looks like when I'm high. They know what I look like when I'm low, just so, because to someone else who doesn't know me, my symptoms are I'm just going to seem like I'm drunk. And that's not the case. And I'm also pretty in tune with my body in terms of when I feel sick or ill. So I usually rely on those like 1 or 2 people if necessary and let them know like, hey, I don't feel well. Please help me. And they know what to do. I also have like a buddy check-in system with my older siblings because they're incredibly loving and overprotective. So, you know, like every hour or so I'll text them being like, hey, like I'm fine, I'm good. Up until the point when I get home. Sorry, I just saw a question asking if I have a CGM. Nope, I do not. I am very old school. I'm insulin pump and finger poke, but I will probably be getting a CGM sometime next year. And again, being open and telling people you have diabetes. Again, going back to the point about living on your own, it's a great lesson to advocate for yourself. You know, don't try to push boundaries to impress other people. If other people are going to be mean or try to haze you or make you feel little for doing something that you're not comfortable with, ditch them. Those are not the people that you want to be engaging with. And if you have, you know, friends who, you know, have your back and want to support you, keep them around, because at the end of the day, it's not worth it to push yourself to like this extreme limit, you know, just to seem cool or just to like fit in with a group. And again, always having some, you know, food and snacks when you drink, just to kind of like keep you energized. And again, going back to having friends who know you have diabetes, it's also a good opportunity for them to kind of hold you accountable. So if they do read your behavior in a certain way, they can remind you to test often if that's something that you're neglecting. So yeah, that's what I do.
Awesome. And I know another thing that we've talked about, Rav, previously in other presentations we've done is a DDD, so a designated designated diabetes driver is what we call them. So just someone who has your back when you are drinking. They might not be extremely sober, but at least they have awareness of what is going on. And even if there is the designated driver, just make sure that they know so that, one, you don't do stupid things, because nobody wants that. And you are just being safe and you are being protected and cared for by your friends. So when it comes to the hazing, I know, Rob, you kind of answered this question. Don't let people push you around. If you don't feel comfortable doing something, just say no. I know it can be intimidating. You want to impress people when you're in school. You want to be able to make those friends. Don't feel that you need to. There will always be more people who will be more supportive of you and will be supportive of your decision to say no. I know peer pressure is a very, very hard thing to say no to. But again, if you're having those issues, talk to a mentor, talk to another friend, and they can give you some hopefully better advice than the people who are trying to peer pressure you to do something dumb.
Yeah, any type of group that has some type of initiation or hazing as a way to enter their group or their circle, yeah, not worth it at all. Like, bye. That's all I gotta say.
And I know a lot of times at universities, that stuff does not fly. So if it does happen and the universities find out about it, they are very, very strict and they are very good about punishment. So just keep that in mind and don't be afraid to go talk to your advisor, especially with accommodations, and just let them know. It can seem scary, but it will benefit not only you, but others who follow. So does that answer the question about kind of the hazing kind of thing, the drinking question? Any other questions about the night out with friends?
Nobody's written anything yet, but it maybe comes out at the end.
Perfect.
Okay.
Now, Rav, I had a question about like going out for dinner and that kind of stuff. So when you go out for dinner, and I know it's a lot of patio dinners right now, but what do you do? What do you look for? What don't you do? Kind of what would be your night out dinner routine?
So as much as I love to say that I'm like a free spirit, I really like to know where we're going. So I'll ask what like the restaurant of choice is, or like if there's a few, I'll look up the menu beforehand, to see if there is something like vegetarian, egg-free, something that won't upset my very sensitive stomach. And I'll usually look at their nutritional information just so I can kind of get a gist of like what my carb count will be. If they don't have a menu on, I'll usually either give them a call and kind of get a guesstimate, or I'll look at like similar meals I've had in the past. I have so many notebooks of like my own homemade carb guides, or I'll look it up online. And making sure I give myself sometimes like a little bit of extra insulin, like a little bit of a pillow. I might just increase this is what I do. Again, talk to your clinic specifically about what you should do. I sometimes might increase my basal rate a little bit, just in case I know if I'm eating like a really like heavy pasta or like a big pizza. I typically don't tend to like drink at dinners, just because like the sugar and having something really heavy with carbs is not really, again, good for the stomach. And I might start to feel sick. That's just how I am. But yeah, that's usually my go-to.
Perfect. And Rob, I just want to jump kind of back. Well, I guess we're still on the night out with friends, but when drinking, when you wake up in the morning, what is the first thing that you do? Like, do you text a family member to let them know that you're okay? Because I know that's been a question in previous webinars that we have done. So what are your thoughts on that one?
So what I usually do is I check my phone to make sure that I've texted one of my sisters or someone I was out with, just to make sure that I did it. And if I haven't, then obviously I'll be like, hi, I'm fine. And then I'll check my blood. Usually I do tend to wake up a little bit more on the low side. And I'm pretty good at being like aware when I'm low, I'll wake up right away. And so I'll, text my sisters or my friends being like, hey, like, this is how much my blood sugar is, like, I'm good to go. And then, yeah, just kind of go from there. If I'm low, I'll have an orange juice. I usually kind of keep it light with breakfast. But that's usually what I do.
Great. Awesome. So if we don't have any other questions, I think this might be our last one. Yes. So that was our last kind of discussion for transition. So do we have any other transition questions, whether it's transitioning to a night out with your friends, transitioning to post-secondary adult care, any other questions in that sense? Because now we are open to questions.
If anybody would like to speak, you can unmute yourself and you can ask a question. You can put yourself on camera if you want or not, but please feel free to either write in the chat or ask a question directly by unmuting yourself.
Rav, any kind of last words as we maybe wait for some people to ask some questions?
Yeah, for sure. This is a time of a lot of uncertainty and transition and change on top of COVID. So just remember to be kind to yourself and keep your health your number one priority, which Alex pointed this out earlier, does include your mental health. If something is not jiving with you, take a moment and just have some self-reflection and check in with yourself. If something's not sitting right with your spirit, just, ask, okay, what can I do differently? That might require doing a little bit of additional research, reaching out to a loved one, and, just continue putting your best foot forward. Because, things change, goals change, things might take longer than expected. But, having T1D, we are naturally a very resilient breed. So I know everyone will be okay. And thank you for having us speak tonight. I really enjoyed this.
That's great. I think that's very great advice, Rav. Having an adult daughter myself who's in university and who also suffers from chronic illness, she has found that really discovering the accommodations that are open to her have really made her feel much better, much more in control of her educational experience also, because she discovered things about herself by speaking with them, by feeling understood. So I really encourage everybody to go to their accommodations or student success or whatever it is called in your area, in your college or university or CJUP or wherever it is you're going to do that. It's so important, and they're really going to help you out and give you also the tools to express yourself. We did have one person wrote just earlier that I want to address here. Kathy wrote that she followed the steps in the guide for Ontario University, but then found out that residence accommodation request medical verification requirement was different from the academic accommodation. So that's also something that there might be two forms to do. It might not just be one form. It could be one thing for academic accommodation and totally different things for residential accommodations. So these are things you're going to have to I don't know if you know about this, or these are things that people just have to really check out for themselves.
Yeah, because I know for me, I really utilized it in terms of residence accommodation. Because again, I have, test anxiety, I stress out a lot. But for me, being in that environment of writing with 300 people is oddly calming, and it works for me. So yeah, I had only done the residence accommodation.
Yeah, and so I think that's really something everybody has to judge for themselves. And also, it can change as you go through university. Mm-hmm. So you could, and I think that's something very important for everybody to realize, that you can feel good and gung-ho when you start university and say, oh, I don't need accommodation, I'm fine, I'm this. And then as things get a little bit more stressful, as you really dive into it, as you really see what it means, you might find that you need some help. You need to be able to tell people something, or talk, or have extra time, or take one fewer course, or whatever it could be. So I do think you have to be kind to yourself, that your situation can change midstream, and that's okay.
Yeah, and I can attest to that. I mean, I transferred universities, I transferred programs. I thought I was doing really well when I started out university, and then I was like, oh, after my first midterm, I'm like, ooh, mental health check, not doing so good. Where can I go for support? These services are there to help you. And I know it can take a lot to just be like, yes, like, I need help. I need to go find where to go. I need to open up. It can be intimidating, but it's ultimately going to better yourself at the end of the day. So you have my support and encouragement to just look after yourself.
Yeah. So Jacqueline asked, what if the college that you're going to doesn't have accommodation or plan for type 1? It could be that it's not specific for type 1, but for chronic disease. So I don't know what you think. Have you encountered a place that does not have at all any type of accommodation? I would think that's illegal, but
yeah. So I'm back. Sorry for the technical issues, everybody. Connection problems, living in the middle of nowhere. So anyway, so with the accommodations, there are some schools that technically do not have accommodations per se. However, every single college university should have some type of accommodation, whether it's listed or not. Just talk to the admissions if there is nothing listed. There has only been a very select few universities and colleges that we have found doing the revision of the transition guide that do not have any accommodations, but it lists to talk to your admissions professor or the dean of admissions about specific accommodations, because they will accommodate. It is considered a disability, so it's classified as an accommodation. So just be sure to check with your specific school if there isn't anything specified on the website or in our guide.
Sierra asked that when is the updated version of the guide coming out online again?
So it should be the first few weeks of September. Like I said, we're just finishing up all the information right now and doing our final edits, and then we'll get it online as soon as possible. But just keep an eye on our Facebook page for the update. We will be posting there once it's ready to go, and then you'll be able to download it from our website once it's up.
Perfect. So thank you so much. If there's no other questions, there doesn't seem to be any other here. Jennifer asked if anybody knows if type 1 is a disability for OSAP.
I believe it is, Rav. Did you apply for disability for OSAP?
I tried to, but when I spoke to OSAP, they told me type 1 wasn't. And I'm not gonna lie, I just got to a point where I was very fed up with it, with the back and forth calls. So I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna leave it. But give them a call, try it out, for sure. I
think if a lot of times for these, if you already have the disability tax credit, sometimes it goes past for other things. So and it's always worth advocating. People advocate for things and then they get it. Having a type 1 diabetes, you need life-sustaining treatments. You need. Juliette asked, what's OSAP?
What does that stand for? Is it Ontario?
Student Assistance Program? Yeah. So Juliette, it is like getting loans and bursaries for university. So like we have in Quebec, you go to the government, get loans and bursaries, and these are provincially run. So it depends on each province if type 1 is considered a disability to get extra money, like to pay for medications or things like this, when you get a loan or a bursary for university, if you need one. In Quebec, it is considered a disability, typically, so you can get something extra, and it just depends on the province.
Yes, and I actually think that Ontario did change their OSAP disability for type 1s. I believe it is added now, if I can remember correctly. So again, just as Rav said, give them a call, check out their website with that. And then also be sure to check out the specific school for their scholarships and bursaries as well, because a lot of the times they have money that goes unclaimed. So be sure to apply.
Exactly. And it's also important, if you are applying for loans and bursaries, to check out all of these types of things in terms of disabilities, in terms of all of this, and write them down. And potentially, sometimes you need a medical note. Sometimes it's enough that you get a disability tax credit. It really depends on what it is. So diabetes is a very expensive disease. And so any help that you can get, take the help, please. It's a very expensive disease, and the more that you take care of yourself, the healthier you'll be, the longer you live, the more it's going to be better for all of society if we're all as healthy as possible. So I think it's good to apply for everything that you can. So I think we're done with the questions. So I want to say thank you so much to Alexx and Rav. This has been fantastic. I learned so much. I think this is something we should have 100 people on the line next time. And to let everyone know that we will be sending you a follow-up email with some links. So to Diabetes Hope Foundation, to their Facebook page, to how you can reach out to them if you need a mentor, which would be fantastic if you want a mentor. This is a fantastic foundation, fantastic organization. We're very happy and thrilled to partner with you for this event. So thank you so much. And I wish everyone a wonderful evening and a wonderful start to the school year, however that start looks for each of you. So thank you very much, everyone.
Yes, thank you again so much, Rosalie, for having Rav and I from Diabetes Hope Foundation join you and to be able to share all the information that we have. So send out those links, and if anybody has any other questions, please be sure to reach out to either myself or Rav.
Yes.
Great. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
Bye.